Welcome, everybody, to today's topic. We're going to be talking about going nowhere fast, the hidden trap of hustle culture. Yeah, so, hustle culture may not be everything that we were hoping or thinking it was going to be. And if you've ever felt burnt out because you felt like you were doing too many things because life just, I don't know, I guess just wasn't moving fast enough for you, or depending on, whatever your economical status is, I feel like your financial status always plays a big part in that because we usually hustle to make more money, get more money to get out of whatever situation we're in, whether that's crippling credit debt, loans, all the things. There's
All
a
the
lot.
things.
Yes, it is a trap. You're good, King's Crew. Welcome. We're glad to have you.
Hello,
And
welcome.
so to give you a little bit of background of kind of why we chose this topic, or I chose this topic this week. It was mainly because, we all, I think most of us drive, especially if we live out here in LA, and I drive in tons of traffic all the time. It feels like every day. And as I'm driving, I'm the person where if I'm in like stop and go traffic, I'll slow down a little bit. So that way I'm not going stop and go like everybody else. And I'm actually trying to time it. So that way I'm always moving forward, even if it's slowly. And like by the time I get to where everybody's stopped, I can kind of, I'm like, as they just start moving, I'm like just right behind them. And we're just like going. And then I give them a little bit more room and whatever. And as I'm driving, like I'm watching these people who are just like weaving in and out of traffic, potentially causing crazy amounts of accidents, making everything move a lot slower, like all of these things. And just thinking about like how in 10 minutes, I actually usually end up right next to these people, or I can still see their car, like just one car down. And I'm like, all that risk, all of that stress on them, but then everyone else around them, because they're having to like, oh my gosh, this person just got into my lane. Like, what am I doing? I need to slow down. And we still ended up in the same place, and I got there a lot less stressed out and did not take on unnecessary risks to potentially hurt myself and those around me. So that's kind of where this idea came from of like, hey, we should talk about going nowhere fast, and people who think that they are moving fast because there's just a lot of action happening. But when you look in the grand scheme of it, you're not really getting anywhere. And so we just wanted to kind of talk about this, and to give you just like a little bit of the description for today. We live in an age where being busy is worn like a badge of honor. Like, oh hey, how's everything going? Oh, so busy. Oh my gosh, I'm like, I don't feel like I know what the heck is going on in my life. Everything is just crazy. And people go, wow, that's so awesome. Like everything must be going really well for you. But then like you start to see the person just like looks just super drained. Like they haven't slept in like 10 days, and they're like, yeah, I'm so busy, it's great, I love
So
it.
good.
But what if all that motion isn't progress, right? Because I could run back and forth in a hallway and never make it to a door. Like I could be running around like doing all this activity, but not actually getting anywhere, or getting somewhere, but not the place that I need to be in order to make that progress or have that success. So too many of us are moving fast, yet not truly moving forward. King's Crew does like racing too on the track and stuff,
Oh,
motorcycles. So
that's
he
awesome.
does move fast, but also progress. And, in his craft of, also helping people fix their motorcycles and stuff, really great. And I don't know, he never looks like he's like running around like a chicken with his head cut off. He always looks really focused and is making intentional choices and making progress on the bikes that he works on. So in this stream, we're going to talk just about like how spreading yourself too thin can feel like success, but actually is the thing that's holding you back. And also talk a little bit about like, so what are some ways that, because everyone's situation is different, where if you feel like, okay, look, my 9 to 5, it's not paying the bills. Like I need another thing. I need another side gig, a side hustle in order to make ends meet, to live the life that I want. And so what are some ways then that we can intentionally move forward on these things? And maybe instead of doing like a million different things, we can go, hey, look, add one like side hustle at a time, get really good at it, and maybe move to the next one. So yeah, so that is kind of where we're at with today's topic. And I'm going to let Kayla introduce herself real quick, so you can kind of, just in case if you're joining us for the first time, then you kind of get to know just a very brief about who we are as your hosts.
Hi, you guys. Thanks so much for joining in today. My name is Kayla Winters. I'm the proud owner of the Lunar Radiance Coaching, where I'm a life coach, yoga instructor, and sound healer. And my focus is on helping women fight perfectionism and burnout through self discovery, self exploration, and self love. And I'm so excited to dive into this topic today. Because I feel like it goes hand in hand with burnout and perfectionism. So, Joohong, let's hear about you.
That's something you definitely don't
That
know
has their
anything
name
about,
all
huh?
over it.
Yes, my name is Joohong, and I am the owner of Reality Switch Coaching. And my main focus is helping couples really build emotional intelligence and better communication through that. As I've been married for 9 years now, it'll be 10 years next year. And the kind of sharing the insights that I've gathered, but also using my neurolinguistic programming background as well to help kind of facilitate all of the change work that needs to happen for everybody to live in a more peaceful and also progressive relationship as well. Not getting caught up in, well, we have a lot of arguments, so we must be doing something right. Well, I mean, maybe if we can have them more intentionally and actually make progress,
I
it
want to
would be
have busy
better.
arguments.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Oh, or we go do a lot of things all the time. Oh my gosh, we go on so many vacations, but I don't know why my marriage feels like it's so empty because we do so much stuff together. Oh, okay, well, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think this is going to be absolutely amazing. I'm going to let Kayla actually start us off with whatever main topic or a subtopic she wants to actually jump into here.
Yeah. Gosh, this is a loaded one for me again. And I feel like it's actually a really perfect segue coming from like our conversation from the perfection trap. Now here we are with the hustle trap. And something that I think is so, I think, relatable with this topic is this like myth of someday success, right? And how there's like this repeated thing that maybe you've heard within your household, maybe you've heard within the social settings that you're in at school of like, once I grind enough, then I can relax. Or if I work hard enough, if I work hard enough as, in my 20s and 30s, then I can retire by the time I'm 50, right? And these ideas of like push, 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 push. And then eventually you'll get to the place where you can like rest and slow down and all these things. And this idea, I think, is also really tied to the American dream so much of like that. I feel like it is the American dream, right? Like if you do all the things you do as a child, if you're a good kid, you do good in school, and then you maybe get a college education or do a trade or whatever it might be. And then you work, work, work really hard, and then you're able to successfully retire, and that's your life, right? That is the epitome, I think, maybe included in there: buy a house, have a family, like all these things, right? That is the definition of success. And doing all this while like smiling and perfect. And this is so far from real life. I think we all can relate, like so far from real life, especially nowadays. Like just thinking about retirement, like what companies even offer retirement? You can devote your life, your career, whatever, for a pat on the back. So great. And it's so funny too how like I feel like there's been like this transition too of like less like it used to be like we would take care of people in the workforce, and now it's like every man for themselves. Just work, 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 hustle more, hustle more, hustle more. Again, like no one really cares about you, which makes me hurt to say. Um and it really is so rooted in pushing yourself to the end. Push, push, push. Any thoughts from you, Joohong, on the myth of someday
I
success?
I
If you'll get there eventually, if you just do the right thing.
it's crazy because King's Crew mentions like, yeah, it doesn't exist due to environmental, economical, and financial instability, causing most to rethink what the American dream is. And I think so. One thing that I've kind of learned over the years, actually, even more recently, is just right now we're just in this phase of everything that our parents told us before. The like, work your 9 to 5, you'll be able to buy a house, everything will be good. You just need to get an education and all that stuff. Get with a good company and everything is going to be fine. But because of how our society is now, those old industrial revolution beliefs. We are in the information age now. They don't work. It just doesn't work. But the big thing in there is just you gotta hustle. And I think just like what you said, like there's this like someday you will be successful. You just have to keep grinding. You just have to grind harder. You're just sleeping too much. But I only sleep 4 hours a night. Well, you need to sleep only 3 hours a night, and then you're really gonna get it. Like you just have to keep your head down, keep going, pull up your bootstraps, keep moving. You're gonna get there. But I think what people forget is like, well, what's your destination? And I think that's what ties into like what like King's Crusade and you said like about this idea of like, well, what is even your American dream? What is just your dream? Let's like take America out of it. Like just
Yeah.
what is the thing? What is the end goal? What's your end game? What are you trying to achieve in this moment? Because I think a lot of people are just like, okay, I just got to stay busy. I just got to stay busy. I just got to stay busy, but with no actual direction. They're just like wandering in the forest. Well, not even wandering, like running around in a forest of all this opportunity, but because they're running so fast, they don't see any of it. And so I think, yeah, so like Kingsfield says too, like no longer is there an industry where your first job becomes your only job till you retire from that same company. Because also, like you said, like there's like no more pensions. There are very, very few. And yeah, you can get a retirement fund, but even that is trash because retirement 401ks weren't even meant to be for retirement. They were savings plans. And even then, the whole like you just keep working and you know if you keep your money in your savings account it'll grow and you'll be fine. Yeah, a long time ago when your savings account gave you like 6% or 10 whatever, now they give barely not even half a percent. Like you can't, these are old things, and right now we're just in this transition into finally like realizing, look, we're in the information age now. We need to let go of some of these old beliefs that just do not serve us anymore. And
Mhm.
now working on moving forward more intentionally. And instead of someday success, figuring out, well, first, what is the success you want? And making intentional hustles to get to that point. And you cannot just say, I'm going to just keep working hard. I'm going to keep working hard. And eventually I'm going to get there without some sort of goal. Like us on
Mhm.
this podcast, this live, whatever. Like we are still working every day to like make sure like, okay, cool. Is this going to serve us? Is this energy spent here? Does this serve us? And we're moving forward. And yes, this part is like the grind part where like, look, we just got to keep showing up, keep showing up, keep showing up. But there is an end goal in mind of like building our viewership, of building out, you know, all these things, whatever, right? And we were just right before this looking at the numbers for our YouTube shorts and stuff. And so it's just like you have to have a plan, you have to have goals, and it cannot just be put your head down, keep going, and don't
Mhm.
ever look up.
Absolutely. I
So like,
think that's
yeah,
the biggest problem too is like we are so overwhelmed, we are so burnt out that like the only way for us to cope is to put our heads down. And in doing so, it is leading to more harm and just complacency in a sense. And it is so important to really be able to reclaim what success is to you. What is your version of the American dream? What is your definition of a successful, of a happy, of whatever it is that you want your life to look like? What does that mean to you? Because I can guarantee busy does not equal success for you, whether you want to trick yourself into thinking that or not. And I don't think, honestly, anyone really wants to be busy as their version of success, right? But we trick ourselves because we think that productivity equals success. And again, that's just been something that we've been tricked into, in a sense, to be able to seem like we are enough, to have worth, to even like to have a sense of safety, so to say. And
yeah,
let's reclaim that. Let's say, oh, hell no, my version of success is whatever that means for you. So, and it's hard to do. It is so hard to do when we are surrounded all the time with so many shiny things, or the quote unquote right way to do things, or the quote unquote right way to be successful. You get to define that. Go against the grain, actually ask yourself and slow down. And I think that's going to be a part of like this conversation today too, is like, what does it mean when you slow down and when you pause, and like what's going to come to the surface for you? And I feel like that can feel really scary because you might be driving in like this full-fledged one direction, and you finally pause and you're like, shit, this is not the direction that I wanted to go in. And now I'm 500 miles in. I've spent all this money on gas to go this direction. And now I need to backtrack, go the other way. But are you brave enough? Are you courageous enough to one, pause and recognize that? So much easier said than done. The ego loves to come out. And then to actually like backtrack to like go back, another ego game to play with yourself, which is so hard. But like when you go back and you're able to go into the direction that is success for you, that is the life that you desire. We talked about heart's desires last week. Is that heart's desire? Like how great, not necessarily perfect, but being able to be in that place of greatness, of I don't want to say bliss either, but we'll say bliss. We'll dream about it, right? Of that place of bliss that you are going in a direction that aligns with you, that feels good for you, that allows you to naturally find momentum rather than forcing, pushing, and shoving.
Yeah, and I think too, like, you know, when we bring up this idea of what does success look like for you, I think people need to understand that no matter what it is, you're going to have to work for it. There is an element of physical energy being spent to do
Mhm.
the thing. It's not just, well, oh, I want to do this, and oh, well, now this thing is hard, so I guess that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. It's like, no, like music artists. They don't just go, okay, like, I'm gonna just put in 10 minutes of this and it's just gonna be a hit. And if it's not a hit, then then just forget the whole thing. No, they spend hours and hours perfecting songs, making sure everything sounds good, like the lyrics are good. They go through a whole process of things. There's a lot of physical energy, there's mental energy being spent to do the thing. So there is always going to be this aspect of work. It's just making sure that you're
Mhm.
doing it in an intentional way that is going to get you that success in the time that you're looking for it, but then also, well, and also keeping in check the reality of like this might take a while, but not necessarily forever. And if you never look up to check in with yourself and
Mhm.
go like
Yep.
you said, like to check in and go, hey, I don't think this is actually the direction I want to go in. Let's go back. Let's
Mhm.
find another way. And having, like you said, like that courage. Like I love that. King's Crew says, but is this thought process due to how most have been raised under outdated learned current time concept only to see those teachings disappear due to time frame changes learning at childhood to reality as adult. I That's what I would say. Like I'm a firm believer in, you know, monkey see monkey do. Like as a child you learn from everything around you, and obviously your parents usually are the ones that are teaching you these early on concepts because they're kind of, your family is the ones that you see right in the beginning, and they're the ones teaching you this is how the world works. And then, you know, you go to school, and then but that's like years later that you're going to school and figuring things out, right? So it's just one of those things that it's like, look, it worked for their parents, maybe their parents before them, right? Because we were in this age. And now, because like we're at this point now where, again, like at this information age, technology age of having AI, of having, you know, like Riverside, right? Like we stream on Riverside and having all this technology, all this information at our fingertips. And it's just these old ideas, while there are parts of it that are very helpful, like having a strong work ethic is great, but it doesn't mean that you need to grind yourself down so much to achieve the thing that you want to achieve. That would be my thought on that. I don't know, Kayla, what are your thoughts
Yeah.
on that
I mean,
specific idea?
hearing you say, like, it worked for our parents and our grandparents, like, but did it though? Did that work for them? Did grinding themselves in the ways that, like, yeah, they got a pension or whatnot, but like, did that actually create the success that they wanted? I don't think so. This has been a broken system since its creation and really is rooted in the intention that your value equals how much you produce. And then we're like, why is everyone so depressed? And why does everyone, have all these issues? And why are they so disconnected and all these things? And it's like, well, because for generations now, we've been telling everyone to put their head down, get in or get out. You're either in and a winner, so to say, or you get out and you're a loser. But even if you get in, you're still a loser. We're just gonna like create this facade that you're winning, right? And I feel like we've just kind of like everyone's just kind of gone along with it because there have been like winners, or there's been this idea of like what success looks like, and there has been people who have been, and I think the editing of success has been a thing for a very long time, of changing how people are able to view what success looks like, whether that's through media, through TV, through whatever different way that success was shown to be
Hmm.
romanticized, frankly, rather than coming back to, I feel like the simple things, the little things that I really do create a successful life, that create the life that you desire. So, yeah. So I don't think it's ever worked. And I think we're all just trying to figure out how it works. And we're just looking back like, damn, that's a hot mess. And it's an
Yeah.
even bigger hot mess now that we've been like riding on this hot mess, thinking that it's working. And people finally have the education and the strength and the ability to utilize their voice now and are able to actually be like, what the hell? This isn't okay. How are we doing this? And
Yeah.
again, it's so hard to be resistant in these ways because it still is the major way that society perceives success and how well you're doing. So I feel like, especially with the holiday times, I feel like this is actually like prevalent with like Christmas cards and all the things coming out, right? Of like the happy families and like all the things, right? Portraying and sharing all of like the great things, which is so great. Of course, we want to hear all the great things, but that doesn't include any hardships, most likely, that people have experienced. The reality of the expense of what they had to do to even pay for the nice picture, pay for the Christmas cards that they're sending out, let alone the stamps, right? None of
Hmm.
that, like none of the sacrifices that went in that is shared on those Christmas cards. And yet all we do is look at the shiny Christmas card and the smiling faces and say like, wow, that must be it. They must have it all figured out. Right. And I think that this is just like important to reflect on and question to yourself again, like, what does success look like for you? And how are you taking the time to reflect on, like, what is really important to you? And what do you want your life to look like? Because we're going to suffer no matter what. Suffer for something good, suffer for something that's worth it, you know? And like, that's why I started my business, because I was like, no matter where I end up, I know I'm going to be giving 150% because that's just, I'm really good with this whole producing situation. So if I'm going to produce, am I going to go and like produce for somebody else who doesn't care, who does not, or am I going to get that behind myself and my vision and my roots of care and my vision of success? And that can still look like working for somebody else, right? But again, it's about taking
Yeah.
that time to be intentional and slowing down and be like, where do I want to put my energy? Where do I want to show up where it can still empower me and strengthen me rather than break me down, burn me to a crisp, and spit me out on the floor? And frankly, like that still happens even when you're working for yourself, even when you're on those paths of greatness and those journeys, going back, like I was mentioning earlier, and going the direction that feels aligned, like you're still going to have hardships and you're still going to have struggles. But again, struggle for something that's worth it. Don't struggle for just anything. Make sure that it
Yeah.
aligns with you, that it's worth it, and that it's within your definition of success.
Yeah, I love it. I was going to transition into this other
Yeah.
topic, but with King's Crew's comment, I think we can move into the hustle trap point. But if there's anything that you want to talk more
No,
about
go
with
for it.
the, okay, cool.
Go for it. Yeah.
So essentially, what King's Crew said is that I think success is how you are viewed, not what you think. Mom, I said, mom once told me, so his mom, not my mom. So if you're listening, it's not my mom, it's his mom. Not what you think. Mom once told me the moment I announce that I am successful is the moment I stop progressing, learning, and moving forward. And I would agree with the intention. And I think the ultimate, like exactly what mom said. And I would say, I think there is this old thing of it is how you're viewed, which actually does kind of go into the topic I was thinking about jumping into, which we'll talk about. But I think it's this idea of like this hustle trap, that productivity is often chased because we're seeking validation, which again also goes to our last week's conversation of
Yep.
like, I need to be validated by other people. Well, how are other
Mhm.
people going to validate me? Well, if I say that, oh my gosh, look at all of these projects that I'm on, look at all of these
Mhm.
things that I'm doing. That is why you cannot deny me this idea that I am like full of purpose or that I am productive. And it's like,
Mhm.
no, because at the end of the day, a successful motorcycle mechanic owner of King's Garage, King's Crew, if someone would walk by and be like, well, I don't know, this doesn't look very profitable, or you don't look like your business is very successful, but it actually is. Like, okay, then who gives a heck like what that person says, right? Like it doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Because at the end of the day, he knows that his business is successful or not. It doesn't matter what other people think.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, like, hey, is there marketing? And like, well, if people who are looking for a motorcycle mechanic, like, do they need to view the business as something that is successful and that they can trust? Of course, right? Like, there's that, obviously. But when it comes to the actual success of the business, it doesn't matter because he can already just know now that his business is successful, no matter how anyone else would view it. But and I really like what his mom said, that it's this idea of the moment I announce that I am successful is the moment I stop progressing, learning, and moving forward. Because just like we just talked about, that the idea is not for me to have to announce to the world that I am successful. I don't need their validation. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to keep moving forward because want to continue being successful. Because once you reach that, and I guess this also kind of goes to like, well, what do you believe success is? And I
Mhm.
feel like success at some core needs to be the understanding that you will never really achieve it necessarily, like in the broad scheme of things. Will you meet goals, meet certain things? Of course, like you're going to have like goals for yourself, right? And those are successes. But ultimately, the most amazing success you could ever have is to continue to grow, to continue to develop, continue to change, and to be agile in the business or as a human being, to continue to grow, right? Like we're lifelong learners. But once you know something, now it's dead because now in your mind, there's nothing else to be known about this thing because you know it for sure 100%, which then would not necessarily make you a lifelong learner anymore because now, like, well, this thing is just known. This is it. And obviously, there are things that, yeah, you can just know. Very scientific things that are just like, if I put my hand on this fire, I will be burned. Yes, you can know something like that. But when it comes to things like success, like if I believe, okay, I have already achieved my success, then that's it. You've reached the end game. There's nothing else. But if my success is, well, that my business continues to grow, then maybe I open another another motorcycle garage, or I let someone else manage it for me and then I move on and I do something else or whatever. Like there's always this like idea of just always growing, always continuing to progress and learn and move forward and not dying essentially. um, the longest employment he ever had is when the longest employment I had to open my own business for the place that he worked at the longest was owning his own business. And I think that goes back to exactly what you said, Kayla, right? Like, I don't want to be grinding like the axe for somebody else. I don't want to be grinding my bones away for somebody else. I want to do it for myself.
Mhm.
What I want my success to look like at the end of the
Mhm.
day, right? Yeah, anyways, I was just like, oh yeah, I'm surprised, like, yeah, King's Crew never wanted to fire himself or something. Quit from himself. But,
I think
yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think it's, like, interesting how there's this, like I don't know, just even in hearing what you're saying about, like, there always has to be this going, and that even with learning and progressing, like, you always have to be getting better and being better, and I do think that there's so much like, that is so important to do what's best for yourself, but I think it also kind of is still instilling this idea that you have to, like, hustle and that you have to be go, go, going, and that there is no space for rest because you must be moving. Otherwise, you are not enough. Oh, you have a successful business? Well, good for you. Do you have two? Oh, you have two businesses? Well, do you have three? Like I feel like there's like never like an end sometimes to this growth. And not that there shouldn't be an end, but like when is an like good enough good enough? And I think that's why it's so important when it comes to thinking about the hustle trap and just like re-identifying what is your success and what is your good enough. And I think this comes right back to the perfection trap and being able to identify what that looks like for you because we can burn ourselves to a crisp in it like so many different ways with
Mhm.
hustling, right? Like it can be hustling to be, you know, the best student or be hustling just to no, 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 no. And you might not be necessarily doing it fast and or like quick, but
Mhm.
like still having your movement be rooted and never enough, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think true to what you said, like the part I omitted it because for me, like, well, obviously, but I think it's this idea like, yes, there's growth, but there are plateaus too, right? Like where it's like,
Mhm.
okay, and maybe in the beginning, right? Like I'm gonna just keep using King's Crew's example of like owning the shop. And it's like, okay, cool. So in the beginning, he's owning a shop and he's like building it, building it, building it. There's a little bit of a grind, right? Because he's trying to make it successful in that
Sure.
moment.
Yeah.
And then, he reaches a plateau because now it's like, cool, like things have kind of settled. Like he doesn't have to grind so hard anymore. Like now he's getting referrals. Now his people are coming in, right? Like, so now it kind of plateaus. And then that would be the moment now where you go, hey, let's look back on all of the amazing things that we've done. Wow. Like this is amazing. And then, okay, well, then what's next? If there's something for you next, right? Maybe that is it. Maybe it's just like, hey, some people are just content, like, hey, this is what I want to do with my life.
Yeah.
But also, if you want to keep moving, and I mean, he will always have stuff to learn about motorcycles, I'm sure, especially with all these
Sure.
like electric motorcycles and stuff. And he could decide not to learn more about these things and probably eventually go out of business because like there are always things moving forward, but he's always learning things and taking things apart and all that fun stuff. And I think so there definitely has to be those pauses. And I think it's growth, but not at the expense of life. And the toxic part of hustle culture is that you need to be miserable and exhausted. And if you are not, then you're not doing it right. Like,
Mhm.
no, no,
Yeah.
no, no, no. You can have maybe some days where, it can be exhausting. It's like, oh man, like this is a rough day. Okay, well, maybe in like tomorrow I'm going to take the day off. I'm going to like whatever. And because again, like this thing is also it's everyone's journey is their own. And it's like when we talk about like especially like work-life balance, well, work-life balance isn't always 50-50, right? Sometimes it's
Mhm.
80-20. Like I remember when I was working at Disney, I mean, that was intense at times. But in the beginning, I talked with my wife and I'm like, "Hey, look, right now because I'm just starting out, I'm learning a new business, like I'm doing food and beverage, I'm not doing attractions, whatever. There's going to be an imbalance technically because I'm probably going to spend like 80% of my time at work really learning things, like I'm dumping my energy into this thing. So then that 20% of life, it's only going to be 20%. Like, hey, maybe we can go eat real quick or just have a quick little dinner and then hey, I need to go to sleep because then I'm going to do this or whatever. But it can't always be that way. There has to eventually then now the scales have to balance out again, right? And so I do want to avoid, I guess, demonizing like hard work for what it is.
Oh, yeah.
It's just but also just understanding like we are working hard. We are not just busy, but we are intentional
Mm.
in making progress in our
Right.
lives, but not at the expense of our lives.
Right.
Like if things get
Absolutely.
too much, you need to like hit the pause button or
Mm.
at least slow down the speed to like point five, and then okay, cool. And then I think, like we literally just did today with like looking back at my gosh, look at all this. Like, we would not have even dreamed that we would be where we are now. And even if, like, to other people who are looking in, it would be like, but I mean, you only just have this, or it's just this. Like, to those in the know, to those who
Mhm.
know, for King's Crew, it's for those who know, be him. Like, your journey to get to that point, and you have to reflect on that too. And that only comes when you pause or slow
Mhm.
down to take the time to intentionally look at it and go, wow, look at where we've come. And then if you do want to, hey, look, but I want to keep going. I want to grow. I want to grow. I want to grow. I want to build something for my future family. I want to, whatever the case is, I want to change the world. Cool, great. Then now use that as your like stepping stone or that thing to like, okay, cool, we made it this far. Let's take a breather. Let's enjoy this for a little bit. And then here's the next step. And then again, moving
Mhm.
with intention and then hitting that next plateau and like, cool, we got it. We built it up. Now let's enjoy this for a little bit and reflect. And then, all right, now we move on to the next thing or whatever the case is. Cause I mean, it's, I don't remember where I heard this or read this, but some sort of psychology thing of like, we are beings of creation. We want to always be creating something, like no matter what it is. It can be, I want to create laughter. I want to create physical things in the world. I want to like build skyscrapers. I want to whatever. I want to build a place where people can come and just hang out and enjoy while I fix their motorcycles, whatever, like King's Garage. There's like all these things like that we always want to build something. I want to build a family that is very loving and caring. Like cool. And once I built that, like, hey, now I'm good. I'm content. Like this is the thing I wanted to create. And families are always ever changing and growing and dynamics are always changing, at least in my experience. But yeah, I think exactly your point, and thank you for pointing that out, because I feel like these are things, especially as a life coach, right? Like, well, I know this, so it's obvious to me. So then you omit it. And then that's where we get into those dangerous phrases of like, I don't remember. I don't even remember these like phrases that we always talk about, but like, because there's a lot left out that is
Yeah,
just assumed from the
right.
person who says it, but nobody else knows what you're assuming. So they're like, okay, great. So I just do this and then life is good, right? Real quick, I want to, King's Crew said, and this will all be also King's Crew, you'll be immortalized in our podcast forever, because these audios will go straight to that. But he said, I think the word, yes, have control of your future when we're talking about having businesses. But I think the word hustle is from those that might not understand what hard work looks like due to one's own version of hard work. So it is a hustle. Yeah, because they don't see what is the thought process going behind the people who are working hard and then achieving really great things. They just think, well, they just did all these things, like all of these different things, but they don't see like the people that they maybe asked for help, the people they collaborated with, the people who had to also struggle while they were trying to figure this out. And so, all the things, and understanding that person had a vision of what success really looked like at the end. Like, what was the thing they were grinding for, not
Mhm.
just to grind for the sake of grinding. Because, well, if I just have 5 jobs, then I'm successful. No, no. Unless you're doing 5 jobs because, like, I want to, because I need to pay for my school, and like this job, this is going to give me some skill that's going to get me into a higher paying job. Like, okay, cool, great. Then there's at least something there, and there's so many variables with that. But like again, at least you have something there. But anyways, and then only if growth is something that can be seen, not perceived, wished, or hoped for. Only if growth is something. I'm assuming this is a response to something that I
Right.
said. And then yes, it's a pause for a review, for a reset or repurpose. So all that to say, thank you, Kayla, for bringing that up, because we definitely need to catch those moments when either of us, in this moment myself, omitting things that are very important to understand as a listener, as someone who is on this journey and is looking to hopefully not be on the hustle journey in the negative way, because
Mhm.
work ethic is important, right? And we all agree
Mhm.
that like you do need to work for these things, and you need to, sometimes you do have to hustle in some
Mhm.
moments to make sure things go right. Just making sure that you're not sacrificing your life in the way of like, okay, maybe you don't go hang out with friends or play video games like for one night. Okay, small sacrifice, whatever, that's fine. But if you are like 4-hour sleep schedule, constantly just not even in the days that you're awake, you don't even know what you're doing, like, because you're so exhausted. Girl, you gotta slow down. You need rest. Your body is not a machine. It needs to slow down, and you need to refuel, re-energize, repurpose, re everything. Um, but yeah,
Absolutely.
so I go ahead. I'm
No,
gonna get
you're
off my
fine.
soapbox now, but thank you for that.
Uh,
All in all that to say,
yeah,
thank
no,
you for
I
that
just wanted to
reset.
touch
Yes.
base on it because I think it is confusing. And I think there is like, right, like there's like, well, work ethic and hustle and like all of these words I feel like have been used interchangeably and have been, and because they are something that is so important to our society and what we truly do value, whether it's good for us or not. And so I think it
Mhm.
is good to just like recheck in like what it is that we mean exactly when we say these things. Because at the end of the day, like there really is a huge detrimental cost to this constant momentum.
Yeah.
Whether you want to admit it or not, there is cost producing is not sustainable. Sorry. I know it might be hard to hear, but it is not sustainable.
Oh,
It is
my
not.
machine heart. I
Wi
can't.
yeah, our machine brains are like, what do you mean?" As they're already, like, breaking up. Even if you think about a machine needs to one of the thing about motorcycles, they need to be oiled, they need to be taken care of, they need to be and because we're human beings and we can mask
It's
and
true.
overthink and all the things and be pressured and shamed and all the crap, we like to preserve this reality that we're perfect machines, even though we're so far from machines,
Yeah.
and push to points that like health is a huge issue, our happiness, and then we're doing so in a way that's not even productive. We're just busy. We're running around hitting walls like I'm busy, and we're falling apart and all the things. Again, for what? For what? And then we get to go and point at the person who's taking their time, who's actually caring for them, and we can shame them. We say all these things, whatever, being like, how dare they? Or look at them over there on their high horse thinking like they're so much better by taking it slow. Whatever story we tell ourselves to make ourselves feel better about the grind and the harm that we're producing essentially. But
Yeah.
if there's anything that comes out of culture, it is harm through and through. It's so good at producing that. It's like 150% for sure going to happen if you sit on the train of consistent momentum with no reality of checking in with what the heck is going on from what it is that you're producing.
Yeah.
And I really want to empower us all to check in with what rest can do. Maybe why are we afraid of rest? Are we afraid to slow down? Are we afraid to have that pause to check in and look at maybe like the dumpster fire that's happening around us and really be able to come back to importance versus urgency versus go versus the things. So, yeah, I
Yeah.
just cannot say enough that that constant momentum is just not going to lead anywhere successful in the long term. It might create temporary success. That's so cool. But if what you're looking for is long-term, sustainable care, even money, even if you look at the stock markets long term, right? Like things go up. It's just a matter, are you willing to be committed? And I think that that's something too that when I'm thinking about words like work ethic and hustle and all these things, I think that this go has left us in a place where no one is committed to things. Because why the heck would you commit yourself to this? So why would we commit, period? Well, if we are what does a world look like that we're willing to commit to, that we're willing to sign up for, that we're like, yes, well, that world looks like your version of success, right? And I can promise you that moving and going and whatnot is most likely not your version of success. And thus, you're not going to want to commit to it. Or you'll trick yourself for a certain amount of time until your health goes bad or whatever hits the fan, right? Until you're stuck in this place of crisis, essentially. And then, we talked about in the past of how when we're in these places of crisis and emotion and all the things, like, are we really making the best decision? Or are they stemming from fear? And then it's just like piled on top of each other, right? The fear, the shame, the this and that, the feelings of failure, all this whatnot. And it's like, hey, if I actually just like slowed down, took the time, maybe got to know myself a little bit, um, there wouldn't be so much cost and hurt and shame and all of the things. And maybe you'd be able to function from a place of creativity and a place of being grounded and knowing what it is that you truly want rather than just going because the machine said to go. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Do you have any thoughts on
Yeah.
like the cost of momentum and the cost of going?
Yeah. Well, I think to clarify, like the constant momentum, like I think consistent momentum is good because like that's just again, there's this idea of like, well, it's consistent, but then within those like periods of momentum, like you're not losing momentum because you're taking a pause, like it's still there, but then it's actually what it does is when you pause, then you're like reinforcing and
Yes. That is
recovering and
momentum.
then building even more momentum actually. And then so it just has this like exponential compounding effect, which I love. And I think, but yes, the
Think
constant
yeah.
momentum, the like, it's funny when you said like, oh, when we look at the person who's still and we're just like, ah, what the heck is wrong with that person, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I go back to the driving analogy of like driving in traffic and
Uh-huh.
like, well, actually nobody really ever honked at me, but like I would see
This time.
some people, yeah, right. Like some people would just hang out like behind me and they're like going along
Mhm.
for the ride. They're like, this is smooth. This is consistent momentum forward. And actually ended up being constant momentum because we're still moving slowly, but we are constantly moving forward. And then there would be some people who would just like, man, like zip around me, cut in front of me. Then guess what? They would get to the car in front of me and then slam their brakes. And I'd be like, well, like what was the point? Now you just
Mhm.
hurt your car. You hurt the vehicle that was taking you to the thing, which is just like life. Like you
Mhm.
run so fast just to only hit a red light, and when you get there, although maybe sometimes it doesn't feel like a red light, it feels like a wall. Like you just get smashed into this wall, like the Roadrunner and Coyote cartoons, where like the
Mhm.
Roadrunner will run through, and then the Coyote's like what, and like chase them through, and then bam, smack right into the thing, and it's like what's going on? Like, what happened? Like, we just have to really, really understand, like, yeah, we need to be still and it's okay. Not still for too long because then you end up becoming like the pond that is all just still water breeding mosquitoes and is just disgusting and, whatever. Like, so there's always a flow, but that stillness is a part of that flow.
Right? It's included in the process.
Yeah.
And, like, even with, like, your analogy, you eventually gotta pull over for gas at some point.
Well, and
You have
those
to
people
pause.
yeah, and those people going faster
Sorry.
need to pull over before I do because I'm going
Exactly.
consistently at my
So
speed and they're
exactly. So, no matter what, like, rest needs to be included. Stopping is required.
yeah.
And you can do it on the side of the road with the AAA truck, being like, "Damn, I really need to be somewhere right now, but I didn't stop." Or you can do it with choice, with
Yep,
power, with
yep,
strength behind you, and that confidence as opposed to, like, it not being your choice. And I think that that's really, like, what we're advocating for here is that we're not saying to, like, do nothing, and we're not saying that work ethic is not valuable, it's so valuable, but we're saying that it needs to be accompanied with rest, with pausing, with slowing down, and knowing that that actually creates more momentum. Don't be afraid of it. Embrace it. It is
yeah,
such a strength to be able to stop and pause and look around and enjoy what is and to be able to see where you want to go rather than just speeding on through, hitting stoplights anyways, getting in a car accident, needing to call, whatever the situation that happens to you, right? That comes from going too fast, that comes from just thinking that you're invincible and that you don't ever need to stop. You do. You're human. Our world is built for pause.
yeah,
Pause.
and then
There's
yeah,
so much that can come and can take you further when you do stop. So
yeah,
stop. Don't be afraid of it. It is such a power, I think, in this world that we, again, have shamed, have looked down on, all the things. So embrace it. It's such a beautiful thing. See what comes from it. I mean, if that's an action step for you today, go pause, sit outside or whatever, and like see what you can see that maybe you didn't normally see. See what can inspire you, see what can whatever, or you just get to breathe, right? Like whatever it is, something's going to
yeah,
come out of it. Whether it's you having a clear mind, whether you just feel better, whatever it may be. So much good comes from rest. So,
yeah, and it's so crazy because as you're talking and we're talking about like slowing down and how slowing down actually gives you more momentum and actually like makes things faster really. I was thinking about two things. One is that at King's Garage, because King's Crew is like, oh, it looks like King's Garage. I think we were talking about like, what does that success look like or what is that? And one of the things that I feel like at King's Garage that's different from other garages is that there, does he have work to do? Of course. Like there's always a motorcycle that's like being worked on or whatever. There's tons of motorcycles, a lot of projects. But I think the difference and one of the things that people really enjoy about King's Garage is that when they go there, he will pause. Like, unless he's like literally in the middle of doing something, he can't stop working. If he can take a step away from the motorcycle and then engage with the person coming in, whether it's a new customer or an older one, like he will take the time and talk to you in that stillness, in that paused moment where he could be just like, hey, I'm really busy, like whatever, like, you know, and really rush everything because he's so caught up and, oh, I have all these things to do and blah, 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 whatever. The fact that he takes that stillness, that time, he slows down, actually makes his business better because now when people go there, they know that he's going to make time for them. And then in that, there's like this understanding that, well, then he will take care of my bike too, because he's taking care of me right now. And he is a dude, I don't know, like I would say if nobody ever came to the shop, yes, he would be a workaholic. Like he would just be that person, like, I'm going to grind, I'm going to get through all these things. But then because of the atmosphere that he's created where like you can just go and just stop by and hang out and just chat, which we have done multiple times, especially when we live down the street. Like it's kind of like he almost built in this not fail safe, but this thing of, all right, when people come by, then now this is my time to be still and to just be and enjoy and, you know, whatever. So it's interesting. And then I think about the job that I'm at right now, where I'm doing like the student support for this for trading academy. And again, there too, where it's like the thing that the students love about our location is that when they have questions, I could have emails going like schedule requests I need to complete. I could have all of these things that I need to do, but I pause those things. I slow down. I pause those things and focus on the person in front of me and give them my time and undivided attention, because I could be like anyone. I could just be like, hey, I'm just really busy right now. Just like email me, just text me, whatever. And then whatever, and just dismiss them. Or I could be like, okay, just real quick. All right, tell me what you need real quick. Okay. And then like 5 seconds, like, okay, cool. Are you done? Like again, in that rush, in that thing of like, oh, I'm just hustling. I'm just trying to get all these things done or whatever. And it's like, girl, no, like just slow down and actually you will get the results that you wanted in the end. So it's just, as you were talking about that, I'm just like, it's so crazy how much that comes up in our lives. Moments where we just need to like slow down and engage and have that emotional presence with that person or the thing in front of us versus just going like, oh no, I just need to move on to the next thing. I just move on to the next thing. I just need to move on to the next thing. It's like you miss out on so much when you don't slow down and pause.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like with hustle culture being so just, like, expected too, like, I think people really do fear slowing down and fear rest, and I know that some of it can come from a place of, like, not having a choice, right?
True.
And coming from a place of, like, viewing hustle not necessarily as ambition, but as armor to protect yourself, and risk could be seen as like being risky as opposed to like a casual relaxing, thing. It's actually creating more harm in a sense. And so I do want to just like take that into note when thinking about rest here. But for those potentially looking to experiment, to explore rest, do it. Take the time to do it. See what comes up, right? I kind of asked this earlier, but like what might surface if I allowed myself to pause, right? What's going to come up? Am I going the wrong way? Am I able to find another way to do things, right? Like there's so much that can come up from just being able to pause and look around and like check into our surrounding. And I see this all the time with cuz I teach yoga classes, and there's a part at the end of yoga classes for those who aren't familiar called Shavasana, where you do the yoga, you do all the movement, whatnot, and we close out the class by literally stopping. And Shavasana is also called corpse pose. So we're literally dead.
Yes.
Right. And that's actually like one of the best parts, in my opinion, of it is like we've had all this movement and whatnot. And if you just keep going, you're not able to enjoy any of the fruits of this movement, of all of the effort that you've put in. And corpse pose or Shavasana like forces you to find it. And I thought it was crazy. I was like reading through some yoga teachers and they talked about how like students will literally like get up and leave when they're about to start Shavasana. They're like, don't have time for that. Peace out. Or like, "Oh, that's not productive for me." Or I have clients that find it really uncomfortable because they're like, to literally lay there and not move and just sit there with their brain is so uncomfortable that they just wanna leave. Bye. That makes me hurt for them because it's the best part. And again, if we don't practice this, if we don't explore it and check it out, there's so much that we can be missing, so much good. Um, yeah. So
Yeah.
explore slowing down,
That's
even if it's
yeah.
for 2 minutes, 2 minutes, just sit outside, just be off technology, off all the things that are producing, moving, flowing, all the things, and just find stillness. And it is just so beautiful when you're able to do that. So,
Yeah. That's so funny actually. I was as you mentioned that like yeah, like I think I've definitely had yoga instructors that have like in those moments where it's like, all right, cool, now let's like be still and then just like, okay, and then all right, well you do that, I'm gonna go, I'll be back in a little bit. And you're like,
sure. Or
what?
they're like, "Oh, I
Like
gotta go deal with something," but
but you
yeah,
stay still.
yeah.
I'm gonna keep moving. And it's like it's so funny because then as like an instructor, as like a person who's supposed to model this behavior of this
Mhm.
idea of there's a reason why we do this at the end,
Yeah.
not doing
Mhm.
it, then it's like the whole point of this, like we should believe the things that we're teaching. And if we don't, then the intention is all wrong and all these
Mhm.
things. Yeah.
That's so
King's
funny.
True. Yeah, that was really good that you brought it up. I never thought about that until just
I haven't
now.
even thought
That
about,
was
like, the
interesting.
teachers that are not doing Shavasana either, or just, like, not 'cause you as a teacher, like, you are someone who's holding space for that. This can be
Mhm.
a teacher, a leader, whatever, right? And if you are a leader, I feel like most people listening to this are, in some capacity, like, you have to practice that yourself to be able to implement that within the people that you are influencing. And
Yeah,
so I feel like this is a beautiful call to like hold these spaces for pause. Tell your team to go outside for 5 minutes and like see the impact that comes from that, right? Of them being able to be their best selves, to be able to show up in the best ways. Gosh, how groundbreaking would that be if managers or leaders did something like that, in workplaces? They're so like, let's practice what we preach. Let's
yeah,
invite in these times for slowing down and, like and even if it feels uncomfortable for you, like, do it. Do it anyways.
yeah,
Try it out. See what happens. See what comes from, like, the impact of your team, right? And what I don't know, I feel like that would be such a cool experiment of seeing what comes about in the workplace from just taking 5 minutes of everyone having their pause. So
yeah. And I mean, another great real life example is King's Crew talks about how like a few months ago they saw a gap in the industry and they took a pause, a moment of stillness
Mhm.
for a few weeks actually to like really think about this idea.
Yeah.
And then approached one of the largest insurance companies of that gap and the idea that he had, and now they're partnering with him to
Oh.
take some sort of action on it, it looks like. So, but that it took him 13 years in the industry to see this missing piece in this
Mhm.
industry. But if he had never stopped to think or to ponder and to reflect on this, then potentially missed opportunity. But how many other people
Mhm.
in the industry are actually looking back and going, hey, let's pause. What are we missing? What could we
Yep.
potentially be missing here? But you can't do
Mhm.
that when you're moving 100 miles an hour. Everything is just so blurry. You can't even see any sort of detail whatsoever. So that, and also, I mean, going back to your point of like, well, what if managers, people in work areas decided to, hey, let's take a pause? Like, that was something I did at Disney where when I was a manager there and we did these lead roll calls where we'd have all of the leads of the restaurants, they all came up and we had a moment and we like would share things, whatever. And one of the things that was mentioned was like, hey, these are kind of going too long. Well, this is when I was like doing like my daily, hey, here's like the leadership thought of the day. Let's talk about it and let's actually engage in meaningful conversation about this thing. And I would tell like my boss and I would be like, well, but this is the only time that we really get together and really get to engage
Mhm.
in this way. Like, would
Mhm.
that not be worth the like 10 minutes more for us to really like engage with the leads and to be able to give them this space and hold this space for them? And like he kind of look at me and be like, okay, like, all right, you're right, whatever. And then he'd just like, oh, whatever. Don't worry about it, kind of thing. Like, okay, cool, great. And so it's funny, it's because like we all know that this is the thing.
Right.
But then it's like the fact that we're still feeling like this is wrong, even though we all know this is the right thing to do because
Mhm.
we need this pause.
Mhm.
Because, well, what are other people gonna think? What are whatever, like, all of the reasons. Well, if we stay too still, we're gonna get left behind, we're gonna get lost in it, or whatever the case is. But, like, these are seriously the moments where people have the greatest breakthroughs.
Right, absolutely. And I think too, like, there's a cost to everything. And, like, Joohong, I remember earlier you were like, "If you pause, there's gonna be the mosquitoes that form on the water," and, like, all this stuff, right? And,
Yeah, if
like,
you pause too long.
yeah, if you pause too long, then that's gonna happen, and na. And I was like, yeah, what if that is the result, but maybe that situation just needed to be released for another good situation to come about, right? Like, there is cost at times, but there also can be such a huge benefit that can come from that cost. And we need to not shy away from that. And we should not be afraid just because we have something that's semi working decent doesn't mean that it's the end all be all and the only way to do something. And I think that that's why so easily we see, because I had this happen in my industry that I was working in too. I was working in sales, and at first we started off like all hype, and we were like, yeah, like we had this team and we had a team name, and we used to have like hype team meetings in the morning before we would like hit the sales floor. And it was like, we really felt the camaraderie and we felt the
Mhm.
team. And then 3 weeks later, "Oh, yeah, we can't have those team meetings anymore. We just need to hit the floor. We just need to hit the floor. We just need to hit the floor." And then, we start to see a decline in numbers. And then and we're like, "We really want these team meetings. Well, okay, we can maybe do it once a week, but only for 5 minutes, okay?" And then it was like, "No, we need to hit the floor. We need to hit the floor," right? And then you start seeing people leave and quitting and not being invested and all the things that come about. And it really could have been as simple as like even keeping the 5-minute meetings, I feel like could have been really beneficial. But again, the priority became money and numbers, which is absolutely like important. But again, what is the cost of like an extra couple numbers as opposed to the balance and flow and the commitment to the humanity of the humans working this? Apparently not enough.
Yeah. I mean,
Comes
but
back
you
to all
also,
the and then we have
yeah.
perfectionism, and we, have low self-esteem and all these things, and we don't feel worth it, and we feel like failures and all the things and whatever. And it's like, no, no, you're doing your best. You're showing up your best. It's that machine and that system that is failing, not necessarily you. Especially when you are putting in the effort and putting in the care. Like that was something that also drove me so freaking crazy. It was like, I'm putting in so much effort and so much time and so much this and that for one to be not cared about, to just be treated like trash. Another to be like, how do I be the best? How do I go all in and show up? And then there's just never enough time to pour in. And I think that that's also part of like the pause is to pour in, to refuel, to stop and look around. And there's just never enough time to do that because,
Yeah.
well, I don't work there anymore. And I bet if they took the time to pour into me and to provide me like the mentorship and whatnot, like I would be freaking kicking ass. But no, I
True.
decided to walk away and was like, screw you guys. I deserve better than that. But not everyone goes through that as quickly, I would say, or it takes like a breaking point essentially to hit that point. And that's what it was for me. It took a breaking point, which again, like, why do we have to break people for decisions of care to come into the conversation? Drives me crazy. We deserve rest. We deserve rest. You deserve rest. Your rest is important. Your care is important. You pausing is important. Again, I feel like I have like a little like quick 5-second little spiel every thing of being like, you're worthy, you're this, because like I feel like I can't share it enough of like how worthy you are of care, of love, of whether that's to yourself, from others, from all the things. You deserve all the things and you will be your best self coming from those places. So find those places. If you're not in one of those places, find them, hopefully this podcast is one of those places where you find that power, that strength to be able to say, like, I am worthy of rest. Know that you deserve that. You deserve to be your best self. And that is accompanied with rest. That is accompanied with pausing, with slowing down, with taking that, whether it's 5 minutes, whether it's a couple months. For example, in King's Crew's situation, you are worthy of that investment of pause. So that's my TED Talk for today. Thanks for joining.
I mean, but it's interesting, right? Because you even said, like, once they took that part away, the stillness, I mean, not really stillness, like the momentum building in the morning,
Mhm.
like the numbers actually declined.
But then it creates
So,
more because the numbers declined, then the panic kicks in. And then they're like, what do we need to do? Right. And it starts being these decisions coming from a place of fear rather than from a place of empowerment and strength. It stems from fear. And that means put your head down, get in, shut up, all the things that fear based environments create. And then they're
yeah.
like, why is this not doing so well? Why is no one excited to be here anymore? Why is and I think it's so yeah, one of my favorite things too is it was, like, a new department and, they had, like, an apartment in another that same department in another location, and we were the first in the location that we were at, and they were like, "You get to create the culture that you want. You get to be the driver. You get to" but yeah, our leadership was and we were calling for it, and we were working so even when they say you can call it, like, it still is heavily driven by leadership, right? And if leadership is not in alignment with that, does not agree with that, then I feel like you can kick and scream all you want, but essentially it will not matter. And so it's a matter of, busting down and being in this not great environment or walking away, essentially. And I think that's too like why we have the corporate culture that we have now.
Yeah. And I need to find there's a saying, a phrase in one of the books, something about like, well, anyways, that's a little bit off topic, but um yeah, we could talk about workplace, how to be a good boss and what that looks like and how you could really grow your company and anyways. But
Well, I think that this is super relevant in the sense that, like, pause and resting is required to, I feel like, be a great boss and to build a company and to hit new heights. You
yeah,
think doing the same thing isn't that the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome?
true.
And yet, here we are busting and grinding, being like, "Why does my life still suck?" Well, you're doing the same thing. And I think that sometimes, like, we even trick ourselves too, like and so many times, like, on my entrepreneurial journey, I've been like, "Gosh, why do I hate this right now? Why does this suck so much?" And it's like, because 'cause I'm literally trying to recreate the same hustle environment that I've, like, walked away from because that's what I know. And, like, we gotta do things differently. And it's hard because we don't necessarily have the examples, to do so because, again, this beautiful machine of capitalism would break if we had a bunch of examples of what new success would look like because it would come crumbling down, frankly. And there's a lot of powerful people in the world that would not want that to happen, but yeah.
Yeah, and that's interesting because I actually feel the opposite way. I feel like it's more of and thankfully there are companies who are like, I guess you would say, on the pioneering end of um building more positive workplace environments and really employee focused
Mhm,
initiatives, but that is the harder way to do it because it's easier for you to just go, or for businesses to just say, look, this is just the rules, just do your job, show up, whatever. Like, that's the
mhm,
easy way. It's
mhm,
harder to go, okay, how do I handle my employees as humans and give them like a place where they want to
mhm,
be, which
and thrive.
harder but not that hard.
No, I
But
think it is harder because it takes a lot more intention,
yeah,
and because our society is viewed like this rest, the slowing down, almost like care as like a risk, I feel like it is really hard to incorporate that, and I think that a lot of times the companies, like, they put on these facades of like, "We are employee focused," but, like, I know someone who works at, like, an Amazon facility, and they're forcing everyone to work 12-hour shifts no matter what right now with the holiday season, which is how that machine works, right? And they're forcing everyone to do that, and how they're, like, making it better is they, like, decked out the, like, front office with, like, Star Wars and, like, made it's super cool, don't get me wrong. But, like, frankly, after working maybe, like, 6 12-hour shifts, I don't think I'm really gonna care what the front office looks like anymore. I'm gonna care that I feel exhausted and feel like crap. But the front office is decorated and we love our employees, and that's why we went all out. We even partnered with Star Wars. I don't know if they did, but I'm just saying, like, right, like, I could see that them spinning the wheel that way with trying to boost morale and whatnot when it's really like, well, you're burning people out.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's not hard in the way that there are companies out there who are already very successful in doing those things. It's just to go and want to do that is like
Mhm,
really the
mhm,
thing. Because as I've found most things in life, it's not a really a question of like, can you get access to that information or any information? Like, no, you can get it. It's just or do you really even want to ask? Like,
mm,
that's really the thing that's stopping people.
mm,
Like learning about like trading and investing. There's so much out there. But even with all of that, all of the information that's out there, there are people who are like, "Oh gosh, you know, it's so hard. It's going to be so difficult or whatever." Yes, are there strategies that work, strategies that don't? Are there scams? Of course. But the information is out there, and most people would not even take the step forward to even learn anything about something, but the information is there. It's kind of like the universe will give you whatever you want, but you have to ask for it, and you have to ask for it intentionally. It can't just be, I mean, yeah, I would like to not have to work like 5 jobs. Okay, well, here are the steps. No, I'm good. Okay, well then, I don't know, what do you want then?
mhm.
Which it kind of goes off topic of what we were talking about kind of a little bit with the workplaces and stuff like that. But
No, but I feel like that's valuable too in the sense of, like, I don't know. I just have mixed feelings about what you're saying in the sense that, like, so you're saying that if you want it, it's out there. Like, information is accessible, right?
yeah.
And you can make that choice. I think it's just hard to make that choice when you are burnt out and exhausted and have nothing else to give.
Yeah, and I would say this is a catch-22, but at the end of the day,
Right.
if you wanna get out of it, then
Yeah.
even as miserable that would be the moment where it's like a, "Look, you
Yeah.
need to pick yourself up by the bootstraps, you need to hustle, and you need to hustle to get that information that's really gonna get you the freedom that you're looking for."
Mhm.
Because clearly
Mhm.
you're okay with burning yourself out anyways. Like you said, right? Like that it's like, "Look, you
Yeah.
already burning yourself out. Why not burn yourself out doing something you actually want to do?" Then it's like, "Look, I get
True.
it. You're burnt out, but the only way out of this cycle is to learn this other thing or whatever the case, whatever I mean, there's so many different scenarios
Yeah.
and whatever, but then if it just takes a little bit more to get to the thing that to learn the thing in your burnout cycle that actually is going to get you out of this burnout cycle, then because you're already burning out, what is the difference of just taking this little step to just start to learn, right? Because it doesn't have to be a big step. It can be, look, I feel really tired today. All right, I'll learn about this thing for like 10 minutes. Okay, and then I'm done. And then
Sure.
I'll learn about it 10 minutes the next day, and then 10 minutes the next day. But the person has to be willing to even ask the question first and then really dig deep within themselves. Like, what is it that you really want? And there are
Mhm.
no quick fixes. There are no get rich quick things. There's nothing like that out there. And if someone says that they got it and they know it, they're full of crap. Because no matter what, there has to be an exchange of energy.
Yep.
And for a great reward, you're gonna have to risk a great amount. Like the world does not work with low risk, high reward. I mean,
Mhm.
in some things maybe, but even then, there's still some risk involved. And if you're
Yeah.
not willing to even just ask the question, to even
Mhm.
see what that risk is like, then do you really want to get out of the thing that you're in? It's like the people who are like in terrible relationships and you're like, "Hey, have you tried this? Have you thought about doing this?" "Yeah, but that's just too much work and I just, whatever." And you're like, okay, great. And then the next time you see that person and they're complaining about the relationship, well, have you thought about whatever? And like, there's all this stuff, there's all this information out there, all you have to do is ask, whatever. And it's like, oh no, I just, whatever. It's like, okay, then stop complaining to me because clearly this is not really a problem for you. Because if it
Mhm.
was really a problem for you, you would take the steps to get out of this
Yeah.
problem. So I think that's
I
kind of like more of like I think on that note, whatever that sparked that conversation, but
I feel like that is,
yeah,
like, a really big testament for to pause, because I don't think that you can truly make the best action whatever
yeah,
way that you're gonna do, or whatever 5 minutes or anything. You have to pause, you
yeah,
have to stop, and, like, even your example with the person that's still in the relationship, it could be the relationship, the job, like, whatever the situation, right? They're in some sort of crappy situation, they're not getting themselves out of it, and that's because they haven't taken the time to pause, and it's probably because they're scared to, because they don't wanna acknowledge what's gonna come up from pausing,
yeah,
frankly.
yep,
And then once you've made that pause, you've been able to look around. You don't need to move yet, just look around,
yeah,
process. Then I feel like from there, you're able to make a more intentional decision rather than, because I've even seen with people in my life who jump from one thing to the other, to the other, to the other with side hustles. They're like, I just need to,
yeah,
no, 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 and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and
man,
I'm going
this
to
is
do
the
this,
one,
I'm
this
going
is
to do
the
that.
one,
Well,
this
this
is
is
the
the one,
one,
right? Well,
yeah,
is it really the one? Or are you just jumping to the next thing?
yeah,
That's a part of the hustle that you've got yourself looped up in. Let's slow down a minute. Let's pause. Let's be intentional. Let's slow down. Let's be like, again, let's just pause. I
yeah,
know it's scary. I know it's hard, but if you do it and you take a moment to do that, you will be able to move in a place that feels good. And I also am like a firm believer, like if you wanted to, you would. I so believe that, but you have to, like, what is it that you want? Period.
yeah, because you
And
have
you
to
gotta
ask that,
pause to
you have to
ask yourself
answer
that
that
question
question,
so that way you would.
yeah,
Because you don't even know what you want, so thus you can't make any sort of, so again, that's, like, the crappy part of hustle culture is it, like, confines you, and I feel like shackles you to continue to not pause, to go, 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 so that way you continue to just get, like, lost and caught up and just floating around with no direction, so that way you are just floating around creating more chaos in this chaos.
yes,
So, yeah, I I love what King's Crew said. It's pause, reflect, be accountable, be direct, move with intended purpose, and move forward in whatever
100%,
moving forward means for you. It's just so, so powerful, so important. Yeah. And again, like we're not saying that you can escape this system, so to say, overnight, but really, I think that all of, like, the pausing and the questioning and talking to yourself is ultimately creating that self-trust and invites you inside with yourself to boost your confidence in that sense by just getting to know yourself on a deeper level. And that is going to yield to you being able to slow down and pause more frequently because you have that trust being created within yourself that you know what's best for you. That's something I also love with pausing is it just rebuilds your connection to self that hustle culture thrives on thrashing and completely disconnecting.
yep, I agree, yeah, because like I said, before too, like that you if you're moving so fast that everything else is a blur, then there's no way you're going to be able to reflect. No matter
Mhm.
what
Yeah.
anybody might think like that. Well, it's fine. Like I can slow down. I can slow down. I can slow down. I can think about things. No, I am moving with intention and purpose. It's like, oh, really? Okay, so what is your goal? Well, I want to be successful. Okay, well, what does being successful mean to you? Oh, well, oh, no, I don't know. What does it mean to you? What can
Mhm.
you tell me? Can you explain it to me? Well, I just need to be busy. Oh, okay. So you just want to be busy then? Yeah. Well, so what is the busyness for? What are you trying to achieve? Well, like success. Okay, great. So now we're moving in circles. All right, here we go. Like okay, let's do this. Let's do this dance, right? And I think it's hard when you're doing it on your own and you don't
Yeah,
have really anybody to
it's so
walk you through
hard.
that process
Yeah.
of like really digging deep and asking these hard questions. And that is where for everyone listening, watching, whatever, if you need help with this, reach out to us.
Yeah,
We're
let us
both life
know.
coaches. While we have our specific people that we work with, I mean, we have the tools and skills to be able to help anybody through this journey, through whatever journey you're going through. So please, please, please reach out to us if you are struggling with this and you really need some guidance. We are here to help.
Uh,
And that's a lot of what these streams are for, the podcast as well, because you can interact with us if you're live here, like King's Crew has been actively engaging. We've been able to have this discussion and everything. But if you have questions, you feel free to like put them in the chat, ask away. Kayla and I, we already have gone through these things. We're always learning too, right? We're always still learning and growing, and we know what we think, what we believe and stuff. And so now it's just how do we help the most people actually get through and at least get to where we are in our journeys, if not further within where we are. Whatever we
mhm.
can do to help you along this path, please let us know, whether it's in the chat, it's in the comments on the Spotify, it's in the YouTube when we post our shorts, or on Facebook, however it is. Please, please, please let us know. Email us as well with all the things, all of the information.
With that, I have a question for the chat, for you guys listening, and I'm gonna start directly with Joohong. Question for you. I want to ask you, what does it look like for you to move slower, or what does it look like for you to pause? How have you incorporated that in your life?
Well, like, I just successfully, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I just do it so perfectly every time. Duh.
Wait, you're saying I have to also be doing this if I'm preaching it? That's crazy. I actually don't. I just constantly move all the time, 24/7. I never stop moving. No, I would say for me, the pausing and reflecting, it mainly happens when I'm having conversations with people. I started this practice in the beginning of my marriage, and I talk about this all the time, where there was a moment, a conversation with my wife that she said something to me about where my priorities were, that she was not my priority.
Mhm,
And something about it when she was going through all the examples, and I was just like listening to her, and she had it so good and really put it in a way that I couldn't logically I could not argue against it. And it
mhm,
forced me to go, okay, let me stop and think. Is what she's saying possibly true? And that is kind of like the start of my journey of like what it feels like to pause in the middle of a
mhm,
conversation, right? And now it's almost automatic. I somewhat still conscious where I have to go, "Oh, why do I feel that way about what that person just said? Hold on, let me check in with myself." And so that's kind of what pausing looks like for me, mainly in like conversations where if someone says something, I pause instead of speaking. I'll just kind of do a little self-reflection, which happens pretty quickly usually. For me, I mean, doing it for so long now, it does feel very automatic, but it is just why did I react that way? What's going on? Like, that's interesting. Okay. And then
mhm.
also like trying to understand the other person's point of view, because then that pause helps me then come up with a question to ask the other person, like, oh, so what makes you think like that was my intention? Or what makes you feel like whatever the case is? And then so that pause really just helps with me slowing down the conversation, slowing down my thoughts and words, so that way I can be more present in the actual conversation. That is what it looks like for me. King's Crew says, for me, pause is intentional. It's an accountable reflection moment to redefine current movement, to analyze the next direction of progress.
Yeah.
I feel like I pretty much the same way. Like, well, I mean, Kayla knows this last few months, I've been technically, I guess, between like three different jobs. One that I was at, and I was like, okay, didn't quite, it aligned a little bit, but not necessarily in the way I needed it to. And then I was going to go do something else. And then another job opportunity popped up that actually was one I wanted, which is where I'm at now, obviously. Or I guess not obviously, but it is where I'm at
Yeah.
now.
It's obvious
And
now.
And in yeah, and in those moments of uncertainty, I had to slow down my thoughts because a lot of it was, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? You get caught in that what if trap,
Mhm.
which, maybe we'll talk about that too, the what if trap. And I had to slow myself down and go, look, no matter what, and we've talked about this in, yeah, now who's hustling? Look, okay, technically I went from one job to one job, not one job to one job to one job. So, I mean, hey, but
We're not
now
advocating for
catch me
that,
in the
yeah.
futures market, in my trading view account, hustling on a 15-second chart, trying to making trades, so that hustle, right? But it was really just like that pausing and going, look, no matter what decision I make, it will end up for the best. And I just need to have patience in this moment.
Mhm.
And I find that in moments where I feel the most anxious, are actually they seem to be the moments where I really need to pause and just take some deep breaths.
Mhm.
Remember, like, one, my life is not in danger in this moment. Like,
Mhm.
nothing is gonna come out and kill me. Like, I'm good. It's just things are in the air right now, so it feels uncomfortable. Okay. And
Mhm.
then just trusting it to the universe. I've done everything I need to do. And trusting myself, like you mentioned earlier, like trusting myself to make a good decision, not
Mhm.
necessarily the right one or the best one, but a good decision for myself based on what I know and what is the information that is available to me. So kind of like going off what Kingstrew said, yes, like in general moments, yes, I find that when I feel the most anxious about something is the moment I need to really, like,
Isn't
really,
that so true, though?
yeah, and to
It's
accept
that
it.
lack of safety and that the fear and all the things that just come creeping in that get you jumping. Literally jumping on and also, like, I feel like it triggers us on this wheel of hustle, truly, of like, "Oh, I gotta go, 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 go."
Yeah.
It's such an uncomfortable feeling, truly. So I'm really proud of you for taking the time to slow down in those moments because it is so much easier said than done. So, so much easier said than done.
Yeah.
So,
And I will accept your accept
yeah.
what you said, and I will also make it known that I did in that moment. It was about like, look, let me figure out what is the thing I need to be doing right now
Mhm.
while I'm waiting. Like,
Yeah.
what are the things I could do to be preparing for
Yeah.
whatever thing? And so again, like, yeah, like there was stillness, and then okay, now instead of just being still and rotting, what
Mhm.
can I do to
Mhm.
make intentional movement towards the thing that I really want?
Mhm.
So, but yeah, so how do you what does that look like? That stillness look like for you? Hashtag used to be burnout queen.
Hashtag still learning.
Hashtag still learning. Hashtag used to be a
Hashtag doing her
ex
best.
perfectionist, you know?
Um, I something that I have just, like, learned overall in my journey is coming to understand that my capacity, whatever it is in that moment, isn't failure or isn't enough, it's simply information. And I can take that information and do what I will.
Mhm.
And nothing like living and learning. And I feel like that's been now with my newfound awareness because I was previously just like going for it and and burning to a crisp. That candle was fried from both ends, not just burned. She was crispy. And which poor past Kayla, man. She really that's the hardest part, I think, too, is like just knowing that I was really doing everything that I thought was right and still being burnt at the end of the day, which was
Mm,
so shitty. Such a shitty feeling to like be like, I'm doing everything that I possibly can and really coming, it felt like to the conclusion that I was just not enough, period.
hmm,
So now part of my pause is knowing that I am enough. That's a huge one. And being able to make decisions from that place as opposed to thinking that I'm just not enough and jumping back on the hamster wheel and going, and that I'm worthy of rest and that I'm worthy of pausing and how great it is for me. For me, rest, because I am still learning, I feel like it's often me catching myself and being like, ooh, I see where this is going. We've done this before. I know where this road ends, right? And it really is like I was talking earlier about like driving the 500 miles down like that one direction and then being like, no, we really want to be over there. The world is telling us that we want to be over there, but we really want to be that direction, you know. My world's telling us to go north, we really want to go south. And I know you've made all this headway. And so I feel like a lot of my pausing has been actually backtracking, which is so frustrating, to be honest, and sometimes defeating. But when I do turn around and I'm starting to head in that direction again, I know that it's alignment. It's just all the noise around me that has me questioning myself and flipping around. So that's what a lot of my pausing, I guess, has looked like backtracking and having to relearn again, which again is not perfect. But when I do have those moments and I pause and I know my worth and I remind myself and I get going on that right path, it like feels so good. And when those hardships do come up, I'm like, it's worth it. It's so I know where I'm supposed to be. Yeah, I see King's Crew said, I think outside environmental noise is a distraction for from internal reflection that disturbs directional purpose, focus, and progress. Yeah, absolutely. Outside noise can be so loud and I think is the outside noise is hustle culture, is the expectations to go, 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 that you'll be successful if you do it this way.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of pausing. So, yeah, I want to say stuff like meditating and sound healing and all these things. They definitely have been so important. I feel so lucky sometimes that I like made these decisions to like make my work around these ways of pausing, especially as a burnout queen. Just like I'm like, this is
Ex
hell
burnout
yes.
queen. You given up
Um,
your crown already. Just
yeah.
accept it. You gave up your crown already.
I do. I would happily give up my crown. I will be the pause queen, please.
The
The
pause
rest
queen.
queen. I would love that crown. And I also I think too, doing these things as work and getting to experience holding space for other people has just been a testament to the value of resting and seeing the impact on others who are resting. Because again, we don't always get to see that part because we hide, we're shameful of the rest, whatever. And so being able to hold space and like see the beauty of it, oh, it's been oh, just makes my heart so happy. So again, it's one of those things where like when I'm good south, I'm like, yes, this is it. So such a good place.
Yeah, it's funny. I kind of obviously like, I think both of us we do a lot of like imagery work and things like that. And I think for a lot of people it's kind of like just remembering that all that outside noise, you can always just like turn down the dial. Just turn it
Yeah.
down. Like you don't need it. You can mute it if you want to, but I always feel like, you just have just like a little bit, just in case like something crazy happens, you're like kind of aware, right? But you can always just turn it down. Just turn it down a little bit.
A lot of it.
Sometimes a little solitary time to yourself with just your thoughts, whatever it can be a good thing when you are intentionally going through that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then King's Crew says also said that the dumbest decision he had was opening King's Garage. And it's funny because I think while the dumbest decision, I feel like maybe most people, and I'd have to do some research, but I feel like most people who are successful, they feel like their dumbest decision, like whatever their dumbest decision was in their life, actually ended up being like one of the greatest decisions they ever made. Like I tell people all the time, like, oh, when I quit Disney to start my life coaching business, that like that was the dumbest decision I ever
Mm.
made. But looking now at it again, right? Because you can't see the peaks of your life when you're in the valley of it and you're like,
Oh
"Oh
yeah.
god, I don't know. This feels like the worst thing I could have ever done." But truthfully, like looking back at it, like was probably one of the best decisions I ever made in hindsight.
Mm.
And it's just crazy. And just the power of knowing, like taking a pause and knowing like what it is that you really want from life
Mhm.
and not
Yeah.
getting trapped in the, well, you should always be doing something all the time
Mhm.
24/7. Like for people who are Christian, right? Like God rested on the seventh. Even God rested, the Almighty Being or whatever, right? Nature rests, and it's funny. Like you also talked about the stock market, and even the stock market rests. It is not necessarily, well, not yet traded 24/7, but even then, like, would people trade it 24/7? Probably not. Like, because those people who are making money in that way, that energy, spending that energy, also do it because they want a life to be able to enjoy their life. And the idea is the work life balance is amazing. Depending, I mean, hedge funds are crazy, and there's a reason why in
I
Disney
was like,
Soul, it's really crazy.
yeah,
I mean, because there's added pressures there, right? Like, of course.
yeah,
But yeah, so it's yeah, it's intense.
yeah. I feel like if you ever need a great example of rest, look at nature and just the cycle that it goes through. Like there's day and there's night. There is rest. There is meant to be those times of darkness. Even the moon goes through its cycles of darkness, so to say, that pause, that softness before getting to the light. If it was light 24/7, we'd be living in a much different world, literally. Like the planet would be so much different if it was constantly light all the
Just
time.
all sun.
So again, none of these things are meant to be that way. So why are you living that way? You don't need to. Try it different. Do it different. Pause. See what
Yeah,
happens. I'm excited to hear from everyone else who um I don't know, wants to practice. And I think even if you have taken pauses before, I think take another one. You deserve it. You're
yeah,
breathing, you're living, take another pause. There's no right or wrong time. It's just a matter of being able to come back and know that this is the time and it's happening.
yeah. And if you're new to pausing and being still, just do a 1 minute pause. Do a
Yeah.
10-second pause. Start small. And I say this on almost every stream, like always start small.
Mhm.
Start with, even if it's like 10 seconds, just all right, for 10 seconds, I will not do anything. And even then, in not doing anything, you're doing something, right? Like no choice is
Mhm.
choice. No action is action. And so if you're worried about, well, but I'm not doing anything, well, you actually are doing quite a lot. Because I don't know if you've ever sat with yourself for 10 seconds, 1 minute of just not doing anything. You
Mhm.
do a lot in that
Yeah,
minute, and it feels like an
that's for sure.
eternity. So start small
Yeah.
and be intentional with it, right? Don't be
Yes.
like, all right, I'll take a minute, but then in like 10 seconds into it, you're like, your phone goes off and you go, oh, let me just answer it real quick. Like,
Mhm.
oh, and then I'll
Mhm.
reset it. And then you just keep getting interrupted like that. No, like really
Mhm.
intentionally take a minute and
Mhm.
just be. If you want to, like,
Yeah.
journaling, that's doing something, but also a great moment of stillness.
Yeah. Self-reflection, checking
Yeah.
in.
Yes. Thank you, King's Crew. Yes, pausing to be on here and listening and
Period.
engaging, and hopefully you got something out of this. Hopefully we were able to expand all of our minds here, because
Mhm.
I know even in just on this reflection, like it's been really great for me, like
Yeah.
realizing some things, re-realizing things, getting new perspective. And that's what we talk about all the time. That it's great that Kayla and I have differing perspectives on things with an ultimate goal of an ultimate understanding of certain things. But yeah,
Can
so
I share a quick story
no, you
real quick?
can't. No, it's
And
impossible.
then you're right. I've actually decided, going off of last week's podcast, I've decided that I'm gonna share something with us. And I also would love for us after to literally take a 1 minute pause together and just do it and maybe take a minute to reflect
Oh
after.
my god, really? Not
Um,
for a whole minute.
for a whole
But
minute.
I
I
have so
know.
many
Can
things
we
to
handle
do,
it?
Kayla.
God, can you handle it?
I can't just
No,
take
it's
a
so
minute.
funny to think too because we utilize a program to like edit these podcasts and whatnot, and we literally edit it to remove all the pauses. And so it's just cracking me up because I'm gonna have to go through and re-add in the pause because it's gonna
Oh,
take
that's
it out.
funny, actually.
Because
That is
our life
funny.
moves so fast that we have to literally edit out pauses. Anyways, I was thinking about a time where I was getting
Hmm.
acupuncture. And if you aren't familiar with acupuncture, it's essentially where you get
Stabbed a million times.
you get softly I was gonna say another word, but I decided not to
Oh,
say it.
yeah, yeah. I think I know exactly what word.
get needles placed in your skin, at acupressure points to further with certain types of healing, depends on how you see it. Um, so anyways,
I
family
can't
member of
think of that
mine
word
actually
now.
is an acupuncturist, and so they were home visiting, and they were like, "Do you want a session?" I was like, "Hell yeah." And so I was up here in my office, and I did it here on the floor, and they were like, "Okay, I'll come back in, like, a little bit of time." And I was like, "Sounds great. Can't wait," or "So excited," whatever. And so when you have these, like, needles in you, you don't move, right? Like, you
Yes.
got needles in you, and they're
Yep.
coming different directions, and if you move, it could cause
Yeah,
issues.
who knows?
Who knows, right? And I had the door shut, and I was, like, in this room because we have pets, and we didn't obviously want pets around me while I had all these needles in
Yeah,
me.
true, true, true.
So anyways, sorry for anyone, trigger warning for needles. I'm a little late, but trigger warning for needles. And I remember I was, like, laying there, and I was, like, totally in the moment, and then I don't know if you've ever felt this way, for those who've paused or meditate, where you're just, like, done with pausing. Your brain's like, "Yep, and that's the end. We're not pausing anymore. It is time to speed up these engines. We are done pausing." And my brain's like, "Whoop." Well, the beauty of that situation, even though it didn't feel beautiful at the time, is I, like, literally couldn't do anything about it. I was just stuck there with these needles in me, and I was like, "Okay, I'm done now." But they were I don't know, they were, like, somewhere else in the house, and it's, like, a bigger house, so it's not like I could just, like, yell for them necessarily. Maybe I should have, like, thought about that before, but I didn't.
Yeah,
And it was so funny because I got to go through this process of, like, panic, where it was like, "Oh my god, like, this is horrible." And then I got to check in and be like, "Why is this so horrible? Like, you're literally just laying here doing nothing."
that sounds horrible.
But I feel like this is not uncommon for a lot of people to feel like pausing feels like dying almost, where it's just like being sitting with yourself can feel so uncomfortable. And I loved that moment because oftentimes what do? We just like numb out, we jump to something else, we get busy, right? And in that moment, I had the blessing, literally not having any other choice. But so crazy that it literally takes being stuck with needles. It almost feels like being like nailed down to get to that place where I was able to like move through that discomfort and like that feeling of dying to a place that actually I was able to find softness again and find peace essentially. So, yeah, that's just a story to share to remind you guys that like this stuff is uncomfortable because we have been conditioned to move, to go, to nonstop. So just give yourself some grace, practice. You got this. It's not impossible. Even this minute
Yeah,
that we might do might feel insane. That's okay. That's okay for it to feel insane. And just check in. Just use that time to be like, that was insane. And now you have new information to make a choice, right?
true.
So yeah. I know we're kind of wrapping up here. Do we still want to do our minute?
Real quick, King's Crew said this platform allows me to
Yeah.
pause the mental and physical of owning and running the
Oh,
shop. This allows me to reflect my internal balance. Wonderful.
period.
I am
Love
glad
that.
we can provide that
Thanks for
for
that
you.
feedback. Yeah.
And if, again, especially King's Crew, yeah, because I know you've missed us these last few weeks, but when you're here, it's awesome. And
Yeah.
if you ever have a topic that you would want to discuss, let us know, and we can always
Mhm.
add that in there next week. Before we jump into our minute, we can just kind of recap, I guess, what's coming up, and so that way we can kind of just like end on that nice, just like
Yeah. Pause.
peaceful
Yeah.
pause that'll feel like an eternity.
But isn't impossible.
So next week we will actually be taking a break
Yeah.
for the holidays and everything. Lots of fun stuff going on in our lives, and we invite you all to also be present and still in your own celebrations and whatnots. And then the week after that, so the weekend right before New Year's, we will be doing our "Who Moved My Cheese" conversation. How come yours is blue? Mine's red.
Mine's probably an older version,
Yes, see, she should have hustled and gotten this newer version. It's what,
right?
well, it's what it is. Yes, this book talks about how to deal with change and the different ways that we may do that. So if you haven't gotten a copy already, make sure you grab one. It's really short, very thin, big pictures, big picture as well, tall, like huge print, and that way you
Very,
can just
very easy.
yeah,
First read.
yeah, and you can get it on
Uh,
Amazon too.
uh, I meant, because this isn't our first read. I meant like a very easy first read if you're new into getting reading. I feel like this is a great place to start. And then you get to join in on the conversation and
Yeah, I know what the heck we're
touch base
talking
with
about.
us and give us your own thoughts or ask questions, whatever it may be.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I love it. Alright,
yeah,
I think that's kinda it.
cool. So we'll
My
see you
gosh,
guys
that'll
on
be
the
our last
28th.
stream for the
I
year.
know, it's
Oh my
crazy.
gosh.
Crazy,
We're going to next year. This is crazy. It's intense. Alright.
cool.
Kayla, is there anything else you'd like to add before we do our 1 minute? I'm gonna turn my camera off for the 1 minute because I just really want to be like super still, so that way nobody can see that I'm doing other things. No, I'm just kidding. I'm good to keep my camera on.
Okay,
This
teacher.
will be fun. This will be
Okay,
fun.
teacher who are you practicing what you preach? No.
I'm going to corpse pose in my chair. If
Yeah,
I fall asleep, my bad. I'm just really in it,
I love it.
Are you gonna
Yeah.
do like a timer, or should I do a timer, or? 'Cause my eyes will be closed.
Um,
I will actually, like I'll probably have, like, an out of body experience or something and just gonna float
okay,
around a little
period.
bit.
I can watch the time.
Oh, are you not gonna close your eyes?
No, I am, but I feel like as a yoga teacher, my timing's pretty awesome.
Is it? Alright, I'll trust you. You do
So,
you.
thanks.
Alright, you keep track of the time.
I got you guys.
Alright.
Cool. Yeah, for this minute, it can look like anything, just make sure that you're not driving.
True, yeah.
And, if you are, you know, you can do this minute at another time. Otherwise, get comfortable, close your eyes, have your eyes open. There's no expectation of what this minute looks like. It's just a minute for you. So, cool. We'll go ahead. Joohong, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Alrighty, and that is our 1 minute pause.
That was it? That
Great
actually
job, you
felt really good.
guys. So proud of you. That was amazing. That felt really good for me, at
Yeah.
least.
I actually haven't done that in a while, so that actually was really good.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, make sure that you are following us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, YouTube. Where else are we? LinkedIn.
LinkedIn,
We're
yeah,
all the places. Again, if you have topics that you want to hear about, please send us a DM, send us a message, an email, whatever it may be. We want to hear from you guys. Thank you so much for being a part of our journey
yeah. Tell
here
your
with
friends too. Tell your friends and
yeah, tell your
family.
friends. We wanna get more people on here, just joining in on these conversations. Again, we're so grateful for King's Crew today being a part of this conversation. It just, I think, brings even more, I don't know, human connection, authenticity to these conversations that we have. So we couldn't do it without you guys. And
Yep.
thanks so much. We'll see you guys in
Alright.
2 weeks.
See you in 2 weeks. Have a good
Bye.
holidays.
Happy holidays.
Okay, bye.
Bye.